And the first rule of that being, if I wouldn't say something to somebody else that I love, like a best friend or my sisters, then why should I be saying it to myself? Why should I be thinking of myself in that way? And like I said, journaling definitely helped. And another big part of that was therapy. Therapy also helped me to pick up on just conversationally some of the things I said about myself or thought about myself and the way I was just so hard on myself, and to realize like that wasn't fair and that's not practicing self love. And that's not going to help you build a relationship yourself. Hey guys, welcome back to She Speaks Unfiltered. I am your host, Lynn Sarah, and today we're going to be talking about self-love. All right, so recap. I made another video on my channel about the misconceptions of self-love and how not to get it wrong. I would now like to make a video about my journey with self-love and a few things I think I've gotten right to help someone out there who perhaps does not know where to start. So let's jump right into the video. So for me, I feel like self-love was introduced to me as like a thing that was more like, here's how I would hear it. People would be talking about some situation and they would be like, oh, she only did that because she doesn't have self-love, or she doesn't love herself, or she doesn't have a relationship with herself, something along those lines. And so then I started wondering, are there things that I'm doing out of a lack of self-relationship? What is a self-relationship? What is self-love? What does that mean? And then I kind of started researching what everyone was saying. What I found very quickly was spending a lot of money. And I fell into that trap. Self-love, my first phase of discovering it was a lot of shopping. I felt like I needed a lot of things. I felt like I needed, y'all know that little headband that you put on when you're washing your face? I felt like I needed like a bunch of self-care things because that was supposed to be self-love. The amount of money I spent, the amount of regimes and routines that I had for myself was my way of practicing self-love. I quickly learned that I was just spending a lot of money on things that I wasn't going to need, even in the next couple of weeks, genuinely. And I still was not feeling like I had developed a relationship with myself. So then I started wondering, okay, what do I do now? And I think the best way to look at it was, what would I do if I was trying to get to know someone else? So this is kind of basic, but the first thing that came to mind was journaling. Being aware of the things that I say to myself in my head and like in my spirit kind of. And when you journal it, you write it down, you start to notice thought patterns. And very quickly, I noticed that I had a couple of negative thought patterns that needed to go, right? So for me, the first part of self-love was identifying thought patterns that did not adhere to my self-love rules. And the first rule of that being, if I wouldn't say something to somebody else that I love, like a best friend or my sisters, then why should I be saying it to myself? Why should I be thinking of myself in that way? And like I said, journaling definitely helped. And another big part of that was therapy. Therapy also helped me to pick up on just conversationally some of the things I said about myself or thought about myself and the way I was just so hard on myself, and to realize like that wasn't fair and that's not practicing self-love. And that's not going to help you build a relationship with yourself. You're just going to kind of like hate yourself or always think you're not enough. So journaling was definitely a big thing. Now, journaling could show up in many ways. The first time I was actually told to journal was when I was in about the middle school, and I had one of the teachers that I was really close to tell me like, hey, if you don't have the time to just sit down and write something. I don't know what I was doing in middle school as to why I didn't have the time to sit down and write, right? But she was like, if you don't have the time, hit the record button on your phone and just talk. If you're feeling a strong emotion, hit the record button and talk. And then later on, you could play it back and host that conversation with yourself and listen to the patterns in the way that you speak. That was the first way that I began to practice self-love. And it felt relieving because I would be walking home from school from practice, and it would kind of be late, and I would be debriefing about my day and things that had upset me or troubled me or made me really, really happy. And I would start recording. So at this point, I was having a lot of voice memos recording things. And when I would listen back to them, I would find that there were patterns to the things that would upset me, and there were patterns to the things that would excite me. And that helped a lot. Obviously, as I've grown older, I've kind of switched over to the writing method just because now it's the more discreet method for me. You know, sitting in the eating area on campus and recording a voice memo. Everybody in the caf is listening to what you're saying. It's not discreet and it's not the most accessible way. So I've switched to journaling, writing in my notes, and that's also helped. Sometimes I write them in the form of poems, sometimes I just write what I'm thinking, and that has helped a lot as well. The second thing that's kind of helped in developing a relationship with myself is surrounding myself with people that love and care about me. I truly believe that the point of relationships on this earth, God intended for relationships to mimic his relationship with us so that we may know how to connect with him although we can't see him, right? So when I'm struggling to feel the love for myself, I surround myself even before I'm struggling as like a preventative matter because I love being around the people that I care about and that care about me. They honestly make me happy. So being around them and spending time with them, doing things that we share common interests in helps me to form more of a relationship with myself because I'm pouring back into myself. I said earlier that when I was doing the voice memos, I was noticing patterns of things that upset me, also patterns of things that excite me. So I think the positive side of that is to realize that there are things that make us happy. And a lot of the times as busy adults, we forget to do those things because we're so busy. And we think it's okay to keep pushing them off to the side because I'm too tired or I have a lot of homework or I have to go to work, I have to do this. But when are you going to pour back into yourself, right? So one of those things for me is hanging out with friends, going out. And when we go out, the things that we do. It's one thing to hang out with friends, but when you hang out with people and you spend the whole time gossiping or talking about other people or entertaining negative things, that's taking away from you more than it is pouring into you. So if that's what most of your conversations look like, I would say flag that as a red flag because those are not sustainable friendships. When there's no one to talk about, what are you going to talk about? Granted, I feel like there's always someone or something to talk about, which is so bad when it comes to gossip, even if it's just like social media. But like, still, find common interests. What do you like to do? For instance, it's fall. It's currently fall. I love the fall season, and I'm already planning an outing with my friends to go apple picking. I already have a few things in the works, but things like that, or even in the summer, go to the lake and hang out, or on a day to day basis, watch a show together, watch a movie, discuss it, read a book, talk about music, talk about art. There's so many things we can do together as friends. Talk about politics. Do y'all see what's going on in this country? They, they said Haitians were eating the cats and dogs. Now, that is a conversation, that is a topic that we can have multiple hangouts on, me and my friends. So it's things like that that you want to talk about and that you want to entertain. Let's see. My self relationship journey has had a lot to do with my discovery of God and my relationship with Christ. A lot of times I practice affirmations. You know, we tell our friends what we enjoy about them on a constant basis, I hope, at least I do. And so you want to be doing the same thing to yourself, telling yourself what you love about you and what you can improve on in a positive way. You can become better at this instead of you suck at this. You know what I mean? And the Bible has been my basis and my foundation for those affirmations because what God, the creator of this universe, and myself says about me is more valuable than what anything else can say. And I know that's like a truth that will never fail. It is unshakable. So when you have yourself and you're surrounded by those things, it really helps to reiterate one, the goal, and two, your identity. So that's definitely had a lot to do with my self-love journey. So what else has helped me in my self-love journey? I would say one of the biggest things is like purpose, but I do want to be careful when I talk about purpose. One thing I would like to highlight is that you don't need to expend a whole lot of energy trying to find what is my purpose, why am I here? As Christians, our number one purpose is to love one another. So if you're confused about what your purpose is, start there. But finding something that you enjoy doing just for the sake of enjoying it, just for the sake of contributing, for the sake of making a difference, does give you some self-value and make you feel good about yourself because you feel like you're doing something. Therefore, I would say that has been a big part of my self journey, and this podcast contributes to that. I feel like perhaps a lot of things we take as common knowledge, common sense, and we take for granted, but somebody else needed to hear it, and this podcast helps me to share that. And it also helps me to learn from the things that people say in return. You never know what you didn't know, you know? Lastly, I would say is self-care. I don't put it last because it's the least important. I put it last because I feel like we tend to put a lot of emphasis on it, and sometimes it's the only thing we consider when we think about self love. I love self care. I love to do my hair, my nails, take care of my skin, and just feel like pampered, you know? So, in my journey of self love, I've discovered, what looks good on me that perhaps doesn't look good on everybody else, and vice versa. What I love to do for me and not just following trends. And if that is following trends, then do you, boo. But all of those things, taking time out of your day to pamper yourself and just relax has been a big part for me because I feel like a lot of times when I'm relaxing, I feel unproductive and I feel lazy. So I'm learning and I'm teaching myself that rest is good for you. And it's okay to take care of yourself and glow up and upgrade and just be wanting to better yourself in every way possible, including the physical. So that was my take on a relationship with yourself. I think it's important to have relationships with yourself because when you're taking care of yourself and you're getting to know yourself, you know how to contribute and what you contribute to your relationships and friendships with everyone else around you. I would like to add a part also of self-love that I've discovered is boundaries. Practicing self-love also requires boundaries. What boundaries do I have for myself? What can I do and what can I not do? Being a little strict with yourself is very important because a parent, for instance, doesn't let their kid run wild. A parent doesn't let their kid do whatever they want to do. A parent tells a kid not to touch fire because fire burns. A parent tells a kid not to go in the pool unsupervised because water may drown. And so it's the same thing with yourself. I can't go to this place. I can't be in this setting. I can't be around these groups of people. I shouldn't wear this and I shouldn't do that. Not because of anything specific, but just because you have standards for yourself and you're expecting yourself to live up to those standards. And so having a set of boundaries and being able to adjust it to life because we change and we grow, right? But having them in the first place, I think was a very big piece of having a relationship with myself. Well, thank you guys for listening to another one of our talk shows. I hope you were able to find something that has contributed to your understanding and practice of self-love. I hope that you each can continue to grow a relationship with yourself first and foremost and continue to seek God always as number one. Like I always say, go to that comment section and bring whatever you have to contribute to the table. You never know what you may say that may help me or help somebody else that is just scrolling through the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button and to subscribe to hear more of our think pieces and to host more discussions about how we are people in the world, but not of the world. I love each and every single one of you, and good night.